This BTEC IT Digital Information Technology revision session is for strand C1, responsible use. So the first thing we need to know about is shared data. So organisations collect and process lots of data. Data exchange is really important. If we didn't have it, you wouldn't be able to shop online. There are lots and lots of types of data that is shared. So a key one could be location-based data. This is information about where people and tech are. It can be used to track deliveries. So if you've ordered something, you can see how far away it is. You can map runs and walks, or you could find routes. So if you're somewhere that you don't know, you can try and find the local restaurant. Another type of data is transactional data. This is what's shared when you buy goods and services. Items purchased, payment methods, delivery options are all there. Sales data helps a company to know popular products or promotions. It can also be used to keep track of stock levels as well. And then cookies. We all know about the cookie pop-ups. So a cookie is a small piece of text-based data which is saved on your computer by a website. It can help to keep you logged in. It can save items that you've put into a basket, and it will record things that you've looked at. Companies can use this to send you offers or targeted adverts based on what you've looked at. Some organisations will use multiples of these. For example, Uber, the rideshare app, will use location data to decide where you are and the best route to where you want to go, and transaction data for when you make your payments. The drawbacks of sharing data. So location-based data, like any other data, can be hacked. This could be unsafe as your location could be tracked. Some vehicles that are owned by companies have trackers on, and this can make employees feel like their boss is spying on them. With transactional data, where we make purchases, card and personal details can be intercepted, stolen, and used for fraud. Cookies can be a pest because they can lead you to buy more stuff. People can feel tracked by a business or harassed by a business. We get fed up of seeing adverts for things for something that we looked at once. Malware can also be disguised as cookies. So pause this question and answer it. Okay, let's have a look. Describe one benefit and one drawback of exchanging data. So it's 2 options, 4 marks, so it's point plus expansion. So I've given the benefit. It allows the adverts to relate to things we've looked at rather than random things. And my next one, without it we wouldn't have online shopping, as this needs us to exchange our data with the company and the bank. Then one benefit and one drawback of cookies. If you put things into your online basket, you can return to it later. Or we might find that contact from the companies is a nuisance to us. You're sick of seeing an advert for a pair of trainers that you looked at 3 weeks ago. So what about responsible use of shared data? So some of the data that is shared could be private, addresses and payment details, for example. So companies must be really sure to keep it safe. You must always be asked consent for personal data. So that's why we have these cookie pop-ups. You have to sign an agreement to use an online shop. Retailers aren't allowed to share your data with other people outside of your consent. So Amazon can't share your data with anybody else unless you've agreed to it. And data that is shared across the internet should be encrypted through the use of HTTPS. So pause the video and have a go at this question. Okay, let's have a little look. We've got our little scenario, a cycle retailer setting up an online shop. The website needs to exchange data with a card payment service so it can take payments. Describe 2 issues that might arise when exchanging payment data with online services. So it's a point plus expansion. So my point is that my data could be intercepted, and I've expanded it to say my bank details could be compromised. Then I've said the data must be entered and sent correctly for my point and my expansion, otherwise the transaction won't go ahead. So just two nice simple things to think about when you're paying for things online. The next part of this section is all to do with environmental impacts of technology. So what we need to know is that manufacture of IT devices uses lots of energy. Lots of raw materials that are used are non-renewable. Batteries in things are really hard to recycle, and they often contain toxic materials like lithium and mercury. Ongoing use, when we use computers or mobile phones or laptops, these use electricity to power them, which contributes to pollution. Computers are really hard to recycle because of the number of different resources that are used in them. So they've got things like gold and plastics and copper. So it's very difficult to recycle them. So a lot of them end up in landfill, and some people don't even make any effort to recycle them. And the other thing is, a lot of paper is used when we're using IT, a lot of printing, and that uses natural resources that maybe we don't need to use. So how can we reduce the environmental impact of IT? Well, you can upgrade rather than replace your devices. It can also be cheaper. So replacing the RAM or the CPU or the hard disk drive is definitely going to be cheaper than buying a new item, but equally it's going to have a much smaller carbon footprint because there's a lot less that you are actually buying. You're just buying the section you need. We can use auto power off if our devices are left unused for a period of time. You could use power saving mode to reduce the brightness, reduce the CPU speed so it uses less power. You can use things like sleep mode, set the display to turn off if you've not been active on a computer for a period of time. Sharing your files rather than printing out multiple copies to show people. Setting devices so that they power on automatically at the start of the workday and power off at the end so they're not left on overnight unnecessarily. Looking if you need to replace items to buy those that are the most energy efficient. That's going to help to use a lot less electricity across the lifetime of the device. Old devices should be recycled, or they could be repurposed for something else, or you could donate them to charities who can give them to people who might find them useful. So pause and have a go at these questions. Okay, so let's have a little look. Describe 2 ways you could reduce the environmental impact of using IT systems. So it's 2 point plus expansions. So I've said turn off computers when they're not in use to save the power. Use power saving mode or turn down the screen brightness to use less power. Upgrade old computers rather than replace them, as this needs less new materials and makes less waste. And then recycling old computers rather than throwing them away. All you needed was 2 of those. So we've got an insurance company has upgraded components on their PCs, 1 benefit and 1 disadvantage of upgrading them. So the key advantage, it's much cheaper to upgrade just what you need rather than buying a whole new computer. But I've said a new computer might run more quickly and use less power than an old one, making the company more productive and greener. So sometimes it can be better to just buy new ones. Hopefully this has helped you with section C1 and you can go away and do some more practice questions.